Hello again, Attorney Andrew Bethel of Bethel Law here to talk about keeping secrets, or more precisely, how to keep those communications between you, your attorney, and your accountant private and protected. Let's discuss a powerful tool that comes up often in the world of tax law and trust administrations, the Kovel Letter. If you've ever been curious about how to protect communications between you, your accountant, and your attorney, or how to handle a situation where there might be a potential IRS investigation, you're going to want to pay close attention. But first, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share the video with your accountant. Every little bit helps us get this information out there, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Let's start with some background on just what is a Kovel Letter. Well, a Kovel Letter is a tool that leverages the attorney-client privilege and extends that protection to your accountant. This concept was born out of a 1961 case called US v. Kovel, where an accountant employed by a law firm refused to testify about a client under investigation by the IRS. The court ruled that under certain conditions, communications between the client, the accountant, and the attorney could be protected under attorney-client privilege. This protection hinges on one key factor: the accountant must be acting at the direction of the attorney to assist in providing legal advice. Essentially, the Kovel Letter creates a formal agreement where your attorney hires the accountant, or the tax professional, to work on your case. Under this setup, the accountant's communications are treated as if they were coming directly from the attorney, which means those communications are protected by attorney-client privilege. Attorney-client privilege. I'm assuming you've likely seen some piece of media that has mentioned this concept, oftentimes with the unnecessary requirement that you pay the attorney at least $1, and then you have that privilege of private communications. But let's be more precise. So what is attorney-client privilege and why is it so important? Simply put, this privilege protects confidential communications between a lawyer and their client. The idea is that clients need to feel free to discuss all details of their case openly, and the law recognizes this as essential for effective legal representation. The Kovel Letter operates under this principle by expanding the privilege to cover non-lawyers who assist attorneys like secretaries, file clerks, and most importantly for our discussion today, accountants. The rationale is that sometimes an attorney may need the assistance of an accountant to fully understand the client's financial situation and provide proper legal advice. Now, you might be thinking, can't my accountant just use an accountant-client privilege? The short answer is no, at least not always. Although some federal statutes provide limited protection for accountant-client communications, like Section 7525 of the Internal Revenue Code, it's much more restrictive than attorney-client privilege. For example, the accountant-client privilege does not apply in criminal tax matters or to other government investigations beyond the IRS. This is why the Kovel Letter becomes so crucial. It helps bridge that gap. Let's break down how a Kovel Agreement works in practice. There are some clear rules you'll need to follow to ensure the agreement is valid. First, engagement by the attorney. The accountant must be engaged directly by the attorney, not the client. This means that the attorney should issue a written engagement letter, that's why it's called a letter, to the accountant outlining their role in assisting with legal advice. Second, confidentiality of communications. All communications among the attorney, client, and the accountant are incidental to rendering legal services and must remain confidential. This means the accountant's work should be labeled as confidential and reports should go directly to the attorney, not the client. Third, direct invoicing by the attorney. The accountant should invoice the attorney directly. If the accountant invoices the client, this may suggest that the client, not the attorney, is the primary party, which can jeopardize the privilege in the first place. And fourth, limited scope of services. The services provided by the accountant must be directly related to providing legal advice, not just traditional accounting or tax preparation services. The accountant is essentially acting as an expert to support the attorney's legal work, not as an independent tax advisor. The Kovel Letter is powerful, but it's not foolproof. There are risks if the letter is improperly drafted or the relationship is improperly managed. The scope matters. The accountant's work must be aimed at supporting the attorney's provision of legal services. If the services provided are purely accounting related, like tax return preparation without any legal context, then the privilege will not apply. Disclosure dangers. Be cautious about how communications are handled. Any inadvertent disclosure of privileged information to a third party could break the privilege. This includes mishandling electronic communications like emails or phone calls. Using secure communication channels is, of course, key. Then, payment and agreements. If the accountant has an agreement directly with the client, or if the client is paying the accountant directly, it can unravel the privilege. It needs to be clear that the accountant is working for the attorney, who then represents the client. Now that we know how the Kovel letter works, let's talk about when it's actually useful. The Kovel letter is particularly valuable in situation where there's an ongoing or potential criminal investigation, or when there is concern that a civil tax matter might escalate into a criminal one. Fighting the government. For example, if a client is under an IRS audit that may have criminal implications, it might be wise to structure the engagement with an accountant through a Kovel agreement to protect any communications and ensure that the accountant's work is done under the umbrella of legal advice. However, fighting the IRS wouldn't be the only situation where we might want an attorney-client privilege to extend. Cases where we have actual or expected litigation on the horizon may also warrant taking these steps, such as when we're administering a trust after death. In a trust administration scenario where litigation between the trustee and the beneficiaries is likely, a Kovel letter can be a valuable tool to protect the communications and maintain privilege. Here's how it comes into play. Confidential communication with third-party experts. Trustees frequently need to consult third-party experts like accountants, tax professionals, and valuations experts to help with various trust matters such as tax implications, accounting for distribution, and asset valuations. If litigation is anticipated, having a Kovel letter in place ensures that these communications fall under the umbrella of attorney-client privilege. This means that potentially sensitive information discussed with these experts would be shielded from being disclosed to opposing parties during the course of litigation. Next, preparing for litigation. When a trustee foresees a dispute or legal battle with the beneficiaries, maintaining control over privileged information is crucial. A Kovel letter enables any necessary third-party experts who contribute to the development of the legal strategy to be protected by privilege. This means any documents, reports, or analysis provided by these experts will not be subject to disclosure during discovery, keeping the trustee's strategy under wraps. And, very importantly, maintaining attorney-client privilege. Trustees often rely on professionals to prepare financial documents, tax returns, or investment analysis. Under normal circumstances, communications with these non-legal professionals are not protected by privilege. However, if a Kovel letter is in place and the professional's work is deemed necessary to assist the attorney in providing legal advice, the privilege can extend to these communications, preserving their confidential nature and protecting the trustee's strategy. A Kovel letter is notably beneficial in trust administration cases when complex financial issues exist. If the trust contains complicated financial, accounting, or tax matters that require expert analysis for the attorney to properly advise the trustee. Potential for beneficiary claims. If beneficiaries have voiced dissatisfaction or signaled intentions to litigate issues related to the administration of the trust, distributions, or potential breaches of fiduciary duty. Trustee's exposure to liability. If there is a potential liability or claim against the trustee from the beneficiaries, making it critical to develop a comprehensive legal strategy with the assistance of outside professionals whose work is protected by privilege. In these scenarios, a Kovel letter not only safeguards the trustee's communications with third-party experts, but also bolsters the legal strategy by ensuring that sensitive financial analysis or expert opinions remain privileged. To bring it home, the Kovel letter is a powerful tool to extend attorney-client privilege to your teammates, such as your accountant, and protect sensitive communications, especially in situations involving potential criminal liability, high-stakes tax issues, or potential trust litigation. But, like any tool, it needs to be used carefully and correctly to be effective. If you're facing a complex tax situation and want to make sure your communications are fully protected, you're the trustee of a trust with some litigious beneficiaries, or if you're an accountant who wants to make sure you're doing things right, consider the Kovel Agreement and how it can benefit you. But here's where I pass it off to you. What do you think? Have you encountered a situation where you could have used a Kovel Agreement? Are you concerned about people invading your private communications? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to learn how to protect your assets and plan for the future. I'm Attorney Andrew Bethel, and I'll see you at our next meeting.